Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. I'm Kiana Lambert, and today's episode is going to be why the show is called Calm Your Crazy. I'm going to need you to hitch your ride on this crazy train while we talk about what is happening in the world today and why. I'm going to try to explain it in a way that we can all understand it, and here we go. So, I want to start off with how everything is frequency and vibration, right? We want to hold that little piece of nugget while I explain everything else. But Tesla said, to understand everything, think in terms of frequency and vibration. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what the exact words were. Anyway, so the way the frequency and vibration works is there's vibration, a vibrational frequency rate. So think of it as a water, and droplets of water make ripples in a pond. The smallest ripple is going to be a vibration, and then the ripple outside of that is frequency, and then the ripple outside of that is a dimension. Now, when you zoom in, there's tons of vibration. There's a lot of different frequencies until it reaches the dimension stage. And then once you hit that high enough frequency, you move into another dimension that is also vibrating at a different frequency. You know how they say everything is here, everything is on top of each other? Yeah, it's because they're all in different dimensions and they're vibrating at a different frequency, so we can't interact with them because even though they're stacked on top of us, we can't see them. It's a different dimension. We're operating right on top of each other. Anyway, everything is frequency and vibration and dimensional, which the dimensional is not really going to apply tonight. It's only about frequency and vibration. But last week we also talked about frequency of emotion. Now, think about it. Your consciousness, you want to come down here and have a human experience. You're just light, so you don't have a physical body, and you can make anything and you want to experience it all. So you create a world where you can feel. Right? You want to taste the chocolate, you want to have the sex, you want to do all of it, and you want to feel. So, how then is the world created? How then is reality created? By emotions, because that's what we come down here to feel. So, emotions create your reality. They emit a frequency. Everything is electromagnetism. We can't see 99.99% of it because everything is made of electromagnetic waves of energy. We see less than 1% of 1% of that because we are in our own electromagnetic sphere, which is like a ride at Disney World, a 4D ride where it's an entire sphere that you ride inside, and then the projection is over the entire sphere so that you are immersed in a 4D ride. That is what your electromagnetic torus field does for you. That's why you create your reality, and that's how you create it. And your reality brings in a mirror to reflect your emotions because it's you creating it. So if you feel a lower frequency emotion, sad, angry, anxiety, stress, that is going to resonate and be broadcasted by your electromagnetic field, which is going to create a literal reality for you that will continue those emotions. It will make you still be sad, still be angry, and it just keeps going round and round and round because that's the way that it works. You are creating it. It's automatic. It reflects you and your emotions. Those give off a frequency. All right. Now we got those two things right? Okay, good. Now, we're going to start with the earth and humanity. Humanity has gone through several story arcs. And when I say story arcs in humanity, I'm talking about like Atlantis. I'm talking about like the Egyptians, Native Americans. All of these are story arcs where Every single person that was alive was creating their own reality, and together it created a consensus reality that everyone experienced together because they all agreed on the rules. And when I say agreed on the rules, I mean like we all agree in this consensus reality that math is a thing, science is a thing, religion is a thing. So that is our consensus rules. And the way that it gets created is it's handed down by generation by generation by generation, and then it becomes solid and it becomes a thing that is accepted by everybody. For example, Joseph Smith from the Mormons, he started his little Mormon cult there, or, I'm sorry if you're Mormon, but if he started that and nobody really knew about it, but he got a big enough following, and then it passed from their generation to their kids, and it grew and grew and grew until it was this huge thing that it is today. So take that as the example. Now we're going to move into other people. Just like Joseph Smith started his church and it became super big now, there are a faction of people that are in charge of the world today that know about frequency and vibration, and they started creating reality centuries ago where they were in control. And they maintained control over, just like the aristocracy in Europe. They all married their cousins or their close, I don't even know if it was siblings, but I know it was cousins was definitely acceptable. And then, they all married other royalty so that they could keep everything in control. So that has continued and continued generation after generation. And they know how to maintain control. And they know how to maintain control because of frequency and vibration. They know that frequency is how reality is created. And they know that when the frequency expands out enough, that it moves into a different frequency, and then a different frequency, and then another dimension. And they know that each of us has an individual frequency that is part of the collective frequency. And that is a collective frequency range of the entire human race and humanity and the planet. So they know how it works. They want to keep the frequency low so that we do not shift into a new frequency and eventually a new dimension, because that is the evolutionary path of humanity. Happens over and over and over again. So they don't want that to happen. They're playing their game. They're playing their reality. They know how it works. They want to stay in control, because what happens when you move into the higher frequency? Balance. Things come into balance. And the lower frequencies, you have the wave of good times and bad times, and it takes a while to go in between each one. But then when you go to the higher frequency, everything comes into balance. There's more resonance, more cohesion, coherence. And in order for there to be balance, they would have to lose control. And they don't want that. So they collectively keep our individual frequencies low. And they do that by 70% bots, triggering people to get upset. They do that by creating a false narrative. So because they have 70% bots that can really flood somebody's algorithm and boost it, they've created this culture where if you post something negative and there's 70% bots comment on it, then everyone, like sheep, say, oh, this is popular. I'm going to comment too, and I'm going to copy it too. So I'm going to post my drama and my negative shit. And then it perpetuates itself. Because negative emotions are lower frequency. And lower frequency individuals means a lower frequency planet collective frequency, which means no evolution. So that is one way that they are keeping the frequency low. The other way is modern day slavery. So instead of the whips and the chains and the overlords, we are our own prisoners, our own cage. And they control us with frequency and emotions. And they don't care so much about the money. What they care about is maintaining control. The money is just a side thing. They care about the frequency, vibration, and control, and being able to create the reality they want under control. So they want to keep us in the lower frequencies. And the other ways they do that is by dysregulating our nervous system. They know the nervous system is the gateway to consciousness. And that's not arbitrary. That's real. The only reason every single person has reached enlightenment is through meditation. And what are you doing in meditation? You are calming your nervous system. Your nervous system's calm. You're not in meditation in the middle of the jungle with a tiger at you. No. You are in a quiet place, your nervous system's calm, and then boom, you hit enlightenment because your nervous system is the gateway to consciousness. So they know that too. So they're going to dysregulate us by poisoning our food because the body's a filtration system. It is perfect and maintains balance. And when they feed you poison, when they feed us poison, our filtration system gets backed up, it gets clogged because it's so much poison. And they tell you to eat 3 times a day, and then your body has to expend a ton of energy filtering out. And then some things don't get filtered out. And then on top of that, your nervous system is dysregulated, and you're not producing the feel-good hormones, and you're not feeling creative, and you're not building a life for yourself, and you're not happy, which keeps you all in the lower frequency emotions. So it's the poison, and then you get sick because your nervous system's dysregulated, and then you go get pharmaceutical medication that only works on one part of the body, and then the body has to adjust because it tries to maintain homeostasis, which is balance. And then you've got different physicians adding more medications for different parts of the body because they only know enough about one part of the body. And so they only treat that one thing, but it's an entire system. So that is part of the way they keep your frequency down, because if you're sick, you don't feel good. Lower frequency. If you're stressed and filled with anxiety because they've created this capitalism culture, lower frequency. Stress and anxiety dysregulate your nervous system, and over time, your nervous system maintains that dysregulation as its baseline state, because that is how your body works. It figures, oh, we're always going to be here, so we might as well just stay here. So what happens when you're dysregulated is that you don't produce the feel-good hormones. And the feel-good hormones make your emotions, your thoughts, your hormones, your emotions, they create a frequency. And when you're happy and you have the feel-good hormones, you feel creative, you feel connection, you feel all the things that humans want to feel and that are made and designed to feel. But no. They keep you dysregulated in the lower frequency of emotions, so you're contracted, your frequency is low. Why do you think there's a loneliness epidemic? Why do you think people are not dating? They don't want to date, they don't want to have children. It's all by design, to keep the frequency low. So our job is to raise our frequency. Because if we do that collectively, then they lose. Right now they're losing anyway. Nature will always find balance. This isn't the first time they've tried. They've tried over and over and over again. They were pretty successful for a while with this one. This one was pretty ingenious, using us to keep ourselves enslaved. That was, I gotta hand them that one. That one was pretty good, to make us believe that we didn't have any power and we weren't in control. You gotta hand it to them. We made our own cage, right? So our job is to stop playing with capitalism, to fight back, which we are already doing, and to stop getting triggered by negative stuff and stop posting negative stuff for validation, because you're getting validated by a bunch of bots. So our job is to feel the emotions, honor them. What's happening right now is bullshit. Of course you should be angry. And then choose to be happy and have courage and love and be kind anyway, because that is how they lose. That is how we win. So if you want to win at this simulation, if you want to win at reality, the only thing you have to do is realize you are consciousness, that this is a simulation, and that you have the power, that you are in control, and you can choose what you want to feel. And you can choose if you give them the anxiety. You can choose if you give them the stress. You can choose your frequency. No matter what's happening, you can choose your frequency. Think of a bird on a branch in the middle of a storm. It's just sitting there under the leaves. Rain is dripping on it. And there's a storm raging all around it. And it gets moved a little bit from time to time, but most of the time it's protected by the tree. And it's asleep. Because it knows that the storm is going to pass. And it knows that there is nowhere else that it needs to be except for right there. So when you're having trouble, when you're getting triggered, think of that bird. You are that bird. And right now there's a storm. But you can choose how you want to feel. And you can choose to understand what's happening. And you can choose to understand that everything is going just the way it's supposed to. And you can do whatever it is you want. You can get in and you can fight in the fray. You can make whatever reality you want that contributes to the overall. But if you don't want to do any of those things, the only thing that you have to do, bottom line, is to choose your frequency of emotion. Not only will that change your reality, but it will contribute to the overall frequency of humanity. I'll be honest with you, it is a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge, especially if you have come from a challenging past, challenging childhood. Then all you know and all you associate with and all that you remember and feel and know about in your body is going to be the lower frequency emotions. You may have not had higher frequency situations, and if you are in a constant state of lower frequency emotion, then you are not producing feel-good hormones, and so you may not even know what that feels like. And if it does come in, it's going to be foreign, and your nervous system's going to tighten up, and it's going to feel scary. So I want you to know that it is entirely normal. If you do not know what happiness feels like, it's going to feel scary at first because it's different. But I really feel like most people have an idea what happiness feels like. I really feel like most people have an idea what love feels like and gratitude. and all those higher things. And you know what is the separation between the lower frequency emotions and the higher frequency? Courage. And fear is right below that. And then there's courage. So if you are so scared and you have all these thoughts and emotions about everything that's happening, that's totally understandable. Give yourself a hug. Give yourself some grace. Always back yourself up. And choose courage. Because that is the midpoint. That is the neutral point. And that is a higher frequency than fear. And fear is how they maintain control. So choose courage. And if you don't know what any of the good stuff feels like, you're going to have to start practicing. And the practicing is remembering the times you felt the best and summoning those feelings. Summoning that in your body and trying to hold it. And holding it as long as possible. Most people feel some sort of feeling or emotion with family or when they're going on adventures. And those are the higher frequency emotions, unless you have a bad association with family. But think of anything that you did that involved connection with somebody else that felt good. Even if it was like the first time you fell in love or whatever, all those are higher frequency emotions. And if you can remember them, then you can recall them and you can hold them in your body. And then you can start working towards making them permanent. In your brain, you have neural pathways that are set. Your body is adjusting to everything you do. Your brain adjusts to everything you do. It's a perfect, balanced system. So all you need to do is be consistent with holding those emotions and choosing the higher frequency emotions. And you have to do that with choosing how you feel, choosing your thoughts, and going up in frequency. And even if it doesn't feel good, and even if it feels weird, know that it is completely normal. You are building physical neural pathways for a new state of frequency, a new baseline, things that you haven't done before. Your body and your brain need time to adjust, and they're only going to adjust if you continue with consistency and dedication to how you want to live. And because reality is you and reflects you, it's going to bring you more of what you feel. And if you're feeling good and if you feel great, then that's what's going to come to you. So I cannot stress enough that if you want out of the matrix prison of frequency and emotion and energy siphoning from people playing the game in their own way and controlling us, then choose the higher frequency emotions. If you come from a challenging background like I do, then you may have stored emotions in your body, and they may be negative, and they may be holding you back. So you might have to move those through. And you will know that they're in your body because you'll feel heavy, and there may be pain in different locations in your body. And you're going to have to start communicating with your body, with your voice and your thoughts, to move those emotions through. And if you don't want to do that, then just keep going through your day, and it eventually will come up and get triggered by someone or something. And then you'll be able to feel what's coming up for you, why, and grieve, cry, express it through art, and feel it in your body. Stored emotions, or stored memories, are incomplete energy waves that get stuck in your body. because your body's just filled with a ton of energy. Everything is moving because it's actually vibrating. And that vibration is energy. And emotions are energy. They're just energy that is a data set. And you can feel it in your body whenever you get upset. There's like a feeling that you get in certain areas. And whenever feelings and emotions and stuff get stuck in your body, it's because you couldn't handle it at the time. You didn't know how to handle it. So when the emotion came up, it was too big to feel. Your body, your brain pushed it aside, buried it for you so that you could feel safe. That's what the nervous system is supposed to do. It protects you. So those are energy that gets stuck. And you can say woo woo, whatever. No, it's literally energy that gets stuck. And you are vibrating together. Your whole body, your whole electromagnetic sphere is vibrating. And energy moves through it. But if you have energy that gets stuck, then other energy can't move through. So it's just a matter of realizing what's coming up and how it's coming up and going through it. I know that I make it sound easy. It doesn't feel easy. It feels scary, but it physically doesn't hurt that bad. It's a wave. And you are going to feel scared because you will revert back to who you were at the time where that emotion got buried. So if you were a child, you're going to revert back to your childlike state. You're going to feel hijacked. You're going to feel like a child, and you're going to feel like it's not you, because it isn't. It is that emotional state that's coming up for release, and you're going to need to express it, grieve it, process it, however that works for you. You're going to have to figure out a way. Everybody is different. But realize that every single time that you get triggered or an emotion comes up, it's so that you can move it through and process it. And that the way that you feel or the way that you react is going to be based on who you were at the time that emotion got stuck. And if you are processing fear, you are going to need to know that you are going to have to sit with it. You will feel that scaredness. You will feel exactly what you were feeling. You will revert to that child or whoever you were at the time that that fear occurred. So, for example, I was hurt a lot at night. That was before I processed anything. It was buried in my body, and I was terrified of the darkness. I was terrified of night. So when things were coming up for me to process, I was laying in bed and I felt terrified. I was looking around the room. Nothing's wrong, but my body was so scared. And I immediately, your mind starts racing because there's so much fear. Your brain doesn't know what's wrong. It's disconnected from the body. It's trying to figure out what you're feeling, why you're feeling this way, and there's nothing wrong. But the rumination and the thoughts can make it worse. And this is where people go into psychosis and they start losing their mind because the fear is creating so many scenarios in their brain, and they start freaking out, and it just snowballs and gets worse. But I laid there with it. And I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. And this is what happens when you become aware, awakened, spiritual. You have the metacognition, the awareness of the awareness. And so I was like, okay, my consciousness is like, nothing is wrong. The room is fine. Everything is fine. And I felt complete terror of the dark. And then I realized that this was me as a child being terrified of what happened to me and terrified of the dark. And oh my gosh, I cried a ton. Like, crying was fear makes you freeze and you can't cry. at times. So I was frozen for a little bit until I kept telling myself, like, tell me what's going on. Like, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm here. Like, I was talking to myself. And then pictures started forming, coming up, and feelings and emotions and memories. And then I started crying because I knew that why I was feeling that way. And then my brain calmed down because it had a reason. It knew what was happening to the body. And so I wasn't having all the crazy thoughts anymore, like trying to figure out what was wrong. I knew what was wrong. And I knew that it was coming up for release. And so, oh man, I think I cried like probably for 6 months straight, releasing so much stuff from my childhood. Some of it was even nonverbal, like pre-verbal before, I had ways to describe it. So it does feel scary. I've seen my family members go to the Nutter House when they start having emotions come up. And here's the thing, is that your emotions are going to come up when your nervous system feels safe enough to release them. So if you start having things coming up, it's because you're strong enough, your nervous system feels thawed, not stiff anymore, and safe enough to release it. So if you start having feelings out of nowhere and your body feels a certain way, you are not to be scared. Don't stay in your body. Don't let your thoughts run away. Stay in your body. Bring your awareness to where it hurts, to where it's scared, and talk to yourself. When you start talking to yourself out loud, it takes the fear and brings everything into your prefrontal cortex. So it's moving it from your amygdala to the front of your brain so you can process it. So just talk to yourself out loud, process things out loud, and it will pull you out of that fear. Name what's happening and then talk to yourself to try to figure out what's coming up and realize that what you're feeling is what you felt back then. It's not happening to you now. It's coming up for release. So this is just, I really want people to be safe, and this can be heavy and hard. And I've seen my family members lose their minds because they've had so much that's come up, and then they don't understand what's happening. So I don't want that for you. But that was tonight's episode. I hope that you learned something. I know I certainly did. Putting stuff together is fun, but it's also very isolating. And you might experience this. And here's what I want to say, is that you're going to reach a level of cognition if you keep doing this that is going to make you feel separate for a little while. And that is on purpose so that you can learn to listen to yourself. But when that is over, just like everything else in this reality, you have a choice. And you can remain isolated and feel like nobody understands you, or you can go play, knowing what you know and creating what you're going to create and just meeting people where they're at. I know that that's something that I've struggled with, and that I have to just meet people where they're at, because my brain is unique to me and nobody else is like mine. So expecting other people to understand my way of thinking is going to be hard. And that's part of what makes us unique. And it's hard. It's part of the challenge as well. So you can stop the isolation and just meet people where they're at. It's going to take some practice, but you can do it, because isolation gets rather lonely. And there's so much fun to be had that doesn't need to hinge on how much cognition you have. So just go out there and have a good time when you get past the isolation point, because it's definitely worth it. And people are beautiful, even if they're not as awakened or knowledgeable as you are. They're part of you. They're part of the whole reality. So meet them where they're at. It's what happens when you move into a higher dimension. When you're in dimensions, you can see below you, but you can't see above you because you're not in that frequency. But you encompass all the frequencies below you. And I say this because you are vibrating at a frequency, and then you're going to vibrate higher. The more that you connect the dots, the more that you understand. And you're going to be able to see a lot of the lower frequency people, and that's okay. You have the advantage. So they can't see you. They can't rise to meet you because they can't see dimensions above them. They can't go higher than the frequency that they're at. But you can meet them where they're at, and you can raise their frequency with yours. Your electromagnetic torus field interacts with theirs, and you can raise their frequency just by being you. So even though you want to isolate, you got to get out there, because every person you come in contact with your higher frequency is going to raise theirs. It's like magic. You can just like bibbity bobbity boo walk around touching people's lives and making happiness. So don't isolate for very long. All right? Love you, mean it. Good night.